Hello Mixtresses and Mixters, this is Mixtress Ray and you're watching Mixtress Video. I'm going to do a deck review and flip through of Kim Cran's Wild Unknown Tarot with the Smith-Waite Centennial version as a reference point. So we're counting backwards. I've done this with all of my decks and this is the almost last one. I'm gonna probably do some kind of deck review, I guess, of the Smith-Waite, even though it's in every single one of these videos. Not sure exactly how I'm going to tackle that yet, but this one is the one I went backwards in time. So I went from my most recently acquired deck to oh wait, I skipped one. Oh no, I didn't. Okay. I forgot about one of my decks. This is not the next to last. This is, there will be another one after this, Tarot of the Cat People, and then we'll talk about this one. So, just want to kind of quickly, I mean, you can find many, many reviews on this particular deck. This is the 3rd edition. And it has this nice little, I'm not going to be able to zoom out enough to show you the whole thing at once, but it has this little pull tab with the guidebook, and it's a it's a full, you know, nice little, it's probably a font, but it looks handwritten book. It's got some layouts in it and some kind of intro to tarot. It's a great little guidebook, and I keep this guidebook out actually, and pretty simple versions of the meanings, but I do still refer to the guidebook sometimes. May you always be on the inner quest. Okay, and this is actually the only tarot deck I have that I keep in the box that it came in, because it's just a really nice box. Usually I keep my tarot cards in bags, but this one, I just love that it has a little pull ribbon. I mean, it's just such a nice little touch. So again, like I said, this is the 3rd edition. I would love to have the 1st edition. I know where to find it. And I would really like, oh, I didn't put these in order beforehand. Okay, I just totally forgot to put these in order. So I will be right back. Okay. Back. Now they're all in order. Okay, let's go ahead and get this. The only problem with this phone, I really like the video quality when it records, and it focuses really well, I think. Refocuses pretty well. Stays in focus pretty well. But whenever you set up a shot on like the preview, it's different whenever you press record, which is why I'm always like readjusting the shot in your view, and you have to watch it happen, but whatever. I'm a process queen. I'm okay with that. All right, let's get into the flip through on this guy. Of course, I mean, this is one of the most popular indie decks. This is probably the most popular, it might be the most popular tarot deck since the Smith-Waite. Kim Cran's really like redefined tarot with this deck, I think. I think she inspired a lot of people, and I mean, it's no surprise. It's such a beautiful, wonderful deck. This is kind of, if I were to rank my top 3 tarot decks, these would be 2 out of the 3 right here. So this is going to be a really special one for me. Even though this is a deck that you've probably seen, you might already have in your collection, it's definitely that I'm not showing you something you haven't seen most likely, but it's still a very special one to me, so I still want to do this video, even if you don't need a review on the Wild Unknown. First of all, the quality of the cardstock is pretty much exactly, it's not completely, this one's a little bit more matte than the Centennial Smith-Waite. It's a little more matte, and it's probably a bit thinner. I don't think my camera's gonna be able to pick that up, but it's probably a little bit thinner. I've never actually seen in person the first and second editions of the Wild Unknown, but I think the first edition was the thickest, the second edition was a little bit thinner, and this one being the third edition, I think it's the thinnest, people have said, but it's not thin. It's a thick deck, and I really like that about it. Like, it's buttery smooth, this card. These are like, it's the perfect finish, perfect smoothness, perfect thickness. And hopefully I'll be able to get my hands on a first edition someday, because I'd love to experience. I've heard people complain that they're like too thick, like you cannot shuffle that first edition, but I don't care. I still, because this deck is so important to me, I really hope to be able to get the first edition someday. So let's go ahead and go through this. The Fool, how beautiful is that? So this is a deck, if for some reason you don't know anything about this deck, which is unlikely, it doesn't have any human figures in it. It's all animals of the wild, and it's so, because of that, for me, that makes it easier to relate to and easier to work with, because I've always had a really close relationship with animals. You know, I've always felt really empathetic towards animals. Like, every time I see an animal, I can see myself in that animal, if that makes sense. So this is kind of the perfect deck for me. Like I said, it's one of my top 3. There's a reason why it's so popular, just like with the Smith-Waite. There's a reason why this is the most popular deck ever in the history of ever. And there's a reason why this is like the modern most popular deck. It is so very important to me. So let me just try to say that as we're going, instead of you just having to look at that same card the whole time. And I just can't, and one of the reasons why it's so powerful, I think, is because these are just like with the Smith-Waite. The Smith-Waite is like, you know, it is hand lettered, even the borders. Like, I'm thinking about making this, about cutting the borders off of this Centennial Smith-Waite. However, you know, the borders, I'm pretty sure, were done by Pixie. Like, you can see the unevenness of the borders because they were hand done, which I think is really cool. And the same with Kim Krans. You can see where she's gone out of the line. She's been kind of messy with her lettering, and it cuts off, and just those little touches of it being like real, it just feels more magical to me than whenever somebody does art on a computer. And not to say anything against anybody that does art on a computer. Do art however the fuck you want to do art. Don't let anyone tell you not to do it any way that you like doing it. But personally, I respond better to hand lettering and hand-drawn stuff, which is another one of the reasons why I'd like to have the first edition, because I feel like it's possible the printing on the first edition would feel even more intimate. That's just, I mean, no one has said that in any reviews, but I just feel like that would be the case. This is one of my, like, I always have to mention that the Emperor is a hard card for me. And this particular portrayal of an Emperor is perfect for people that are triggered by images of, you know, authority figure dudes. I actually have a tree that looks a lot like this that I can see out of my window, the window that's just to my left right here. So every time I look out the window and see that tree, I think of this card. Also, this is probably my favorite Hierophant card. If I were to pick a spirit animal, it would definitely be the crow. And I love that he has the key. There are several cards that have been redone by Kim Krans in the second and third editions. This one is in the first edition. I think it's just blues in the background instead of this whole rainbow of colors. This is Mixtress telling you why she wants the first edition. Also, one of my very favorite Chariot cards. Possibly my favorite. I did say, I think in my last video, that the Moon Powers Chariot card was my favorite. I do like that she's riding a rat. And I love in the Marigold Tarot, he's riding a bicycle. But this one also is just the movement, the wind in the hair, the moon symbol, the pentagram, the sun. I love the way Kim Krans does suns, because it looks like the way that a sun looks when you look directly at it. And that's just something that people don't normally do when they're portraying the sun in a drawing. And it's so powerful to me. Here's where we get into Kim Krans does her Justice and Strength cards as flipped from the way that Smith-Waite does it. So we'll go ahead and just keep it in the order that Kim Krans has it. Great Hermit card. I am really partial. This is probably my favorite Hermit card. But I really love this one as well. This is, the Wild Unknown is probably my favorite Wheel of Fortune card. It makes sense to me that, you know, he's building this web that looks like a total mess, but it's not a mess. And it kind of like involves you more in, you know, it's not just fate hitting you in the face every time the wheel turns. You know, you have a part in it. You're building it. You've built what's coming back around to hit you in the face. I like that. Strength card is always one that I don't know if I've ever met a strength card I don't like. This is my favorite Hanged Man for sure. I do really like the one in the Shadowscapes Tarot, but this one, I mean, you gotta love a bat. If you're a goth girl, you gotta love a bat. One of my very favorite death cards too. I'm just gonna say that about every single card in this deck. Just assume that it's one of my favorites, because it is. Let's get even closer. You know, let's just get as close as we can. How about that? I love my new tripod. One of the reasons why I hadn't posted a video in a while is because my tripod was broken. I finally got a new one. Temperance is another of the cards that was changed in the second edition. The first edition didn't have color in the background, and I actually I think I will prefer, once I get the first edition, I think I will prefer the one that doesn't have the color in the background. Temperance is an important card to me. This is one of my favorite devil cards. I've heard people say that it's like, because it's a cute little goat, it's like you're not going to take it as seriously. But I'm okay with that when it comes to the devil card. The devil card is one of my birth cards. And so it adds up to 6, and my birthday adds up to 6 as well. But I get it, you know, his hooves are on fire, which means you can't stay here. You're okay right now, but you can't stay here. And I mean, I am totally fine. I'm totally fine with it being a cute goat. It's not a problem for me. I think this is my favorite tower card. You know, that stability of the Emperor is still there, but you're also damaged. I gotta say, Kim Kranz has got enough love, and I give her lots and lots of love as well. This is, I think, my least favorite star card. It just, to me, it looks like maybe Kim Kranz doesn't really identify very much with the star card. Maybe she forgot about it and she was like, oh, I gotta do something. It just doesn't look well thought out to me. It looks like more could have been done with this. So again, I have not made my own tarot deck, so I really have no room to talk, but this is probably my least favorite star card in any deck that I have. If you ever do a 4th edition, Kim, and you feel called to do a new star card, I think people would appreciate it. I don't know. I might be the only one that has a problem with that star card, so I will just shut up about it now. Great moon. Great moon. And the moon... Oh, I'm thinking of something else. I was thinking of the Emperor and the Empress. Those two. I'll pull those out just so I can... because I didn't do it when we were going through it. How the Empress is white on the night sky and the Emperor is black in the sun. Well, the sun is black and the moon is white as well. Really like that balance while they're next to each other. I do like it when the Emperor and the Empress look like they belong together when you put them side by side. Should have mentioned that while we were there. We're already to the moon. There are not very many sun cards that I like. I'm thinking back, probably my favorite sun card is Marigold Tarot. But this one isn't bad. It's just, it kind of has a religious flavor to it that kind of puts me off. Same with this Judgment card. Not super in love with it. I like the World though. I think I said this in my other... I don't know if they're... I guess the Moon Power Tarot, I don't really like that World card, which I didn't mention during the video itself, but I think every other tarot deck I have, I really like the World card, and I definitely like this World card. I love the little ring of flowers in the middle, and the fact that they're not completely symmetrical. I really like that. This is my very favorite Ace of Wands, probably ever. This speaks to me. Probably the Wands suit is my favorite in the Wild Unknown of the suits. Whenever I'm getting to know a new deck, I mean, a lot of the time, as I've said before, I have to recall the image that's on the smith-waite, but especially when it comes to the wand suit, just as often when I'm getting to know a new deck, I need to pull out my Wild Unknown and see what that one is. Sometimes I have to think about that, you know? Oh, it's just great. I love how simple the imagery is in the Wild Unknown. It tells the story perfectly in these pip cards. This is one of my very favorite cards in the whole deck. I associate this card with Faith Lehane from Buffy. How she shines so bright on her own because she can't trust anyone else. They're leaning away from her. And this is the one that, like, this one doesn't really say that to me by looking at this image. It doesn't say all that, but when I look at this, this is my definitive Seven of Wands. card. That is just perfect imagery for me. This one was also changed from the original first edition. I think it was just like more color was added. It might have just been a black and white card in the original. This one is, like at first, you know, when you first glance at it, it just looks like a jumbled mess. But the fact that there's this light source, that once you clear these wands, once you clear these sticks out of the way, you can get to the light. So it does sort of give you that oppressing over-stimulus vibe that I associate with the Ten of Wands. This one, oh my god. Okay, I gotta say, overall, I really like, I don't mind when it's page, knight, king, and queen, but I do love that Kim Krantz does the, you know, daughter, son, mother, father. Especially daughter. I love the word daughter. I don't know why. I just love it. And this card is my favorite in probably the whole deck. I love this card so much. I think I'm going to get this tattooed on my left wrist, the front of my wrist. Oh, I just think it is so beautiful. And I'm not usually super drawn to snakes, but this deck in particular has really made me love snakes. So one of the cool things, you probably already know about Wild Unknown, but her suit cards are, they're all like one family, kind of. So every single suit card in the wands, they're snakes. And then every suit card in the swords are owls. Every suit card in cups are ducks. And every suit card in pentacles are deer. So I like that, how she's chosen to do that. Love that sun. Ah, this Mother of Wands, oh my god. As I've said before, and probably will say again, I prefer there to be a little cat in every Queen of Wands. However, this is just, I love looking at this. It tells me everything you need to know about the Queen of Wands. This simple image says everything. Everything. How protective she is, how fierce she is, how you do not want to fucking cross this bitch. Love it. Little three birds on a branch with the sun in the background. Sweet bird friendship. This one I still am having a little bit of trouble wrapping my brain around, because I don't see rats in a negative way, and I think maybe that's what this card wants you to think. I don't totally get the meaning of this card just from this imagery. This is just one of the only cards in the Wild Unknown I still haven't totally wrapped my brain around the way she's chosen to do the imagery. But that probably just means she has a different interpretation of the card than I do, which is fine. Rainbow Roots totally says nostalgia to me. This is one of the cards that is redone. I think it's probably better now than it was in the first edition. But I do like the one in the first edition too. I think it's just black and white in the first one, in the first edition. This image really reminds me of like, I don't know what it reminds me of something specific, and I think it's like a 70s album cover of some kind. You guys know, leave it in the comments, but this reminds me of something, and I think it's the right vibe. I think it's totally the right vibe. It's a great Daughter of Cups too. I love that her reflection is a rainbow. Rainbows really kind of portray emotion in the Cups court cards in this deck. How the sun is just sort of like, his emotions are bursting out. And the Mother is sort of, she's got her emotions under control. She's covering them herself. Set that one aside because that's my card of the day. Again, showing the sun as the black hole, like if you looked at it directly. I just think that's genius. I said in my last video, I've never met a 3 of Swords I don't like. And this one is no exception. I love that they're bound together, but also they're bleeding. This is another example of one of the ones that was redone from the first edition. And I think it looks better in the second edition. It's kind of, she just redrew the whole lamb and added color, and she might have been rushed during the first edition maybe, and that's why she wanted to redo it. But it's great. It definitely says what it needs to say. Self-sabotage. I like that it's, she kind of went darker with it than in the smith-waite. Like, this one doesn't seem that dark. Like, maybe he's being a little shady, but it doesn't seem that dark. But this is definitely dark. This is one that took me a little bit, like, these swords are so dark and stick-like that sometimes I get confused and think this is a 6 of Wands. But you can see, if you get real close, you can see the handles of the swords. So this one's a little bit, like, maybe it could be redone a little bit if there's ever another edition, but it does say what it needs to say. Oh, I love this fox. I love this fox. This is a great rendition of the 7 of Swords. He's sort of like, I'm not doing anything. You can't see this other sword under me. Oh, also 8. That's perfect, isn't it? Isn't that so perfect? She's in the cocoon. She's got all those swords pointed at her, but she also needs that sword to sustain her. Definitely says nightmares. I like how she's willing. I mean, even though this is a deck of like mostly beautiful little animals and forest creatures and stuff, but she's willing to get dark when she needs to. And this 9 of Swords is a perfect example. Also the 10 of Swords. Another great example of her being willing to go dark with it. Oh, okay. The court cards in this deck, especially the daughters, are my very favorites of any of my decks. I love them so much. This Daughter of Swords, I see myself in her, especially myself as like a teenager. I mean, that is me. Hashtag same. Look at her. No bullshit. No bullshit. She will tell it to you straight. Although she doesn't quite have tact yet, but she'll tell it to you straight. Definitely that white knight action. Like he is swooping in to save somebody right now for sure. I don't know if I've ever met a queen or mother of swords that I don't like either, and it's one of my it's the Libra card, and I'm a heavy Libra. I'm Libra rising, Libra sun sign. I have Libra and several other of my planets astrologically speaking, and the Queen of Swords is a Libra card, so I always associate with it, and I am hardly ever disappointed by portrayals of Queen of Swords, which is great. In fact, it's possible I say that because I probably wouldn't buy a deck if I hated the Queen of Swords. I mean, unless it was like so amazing that I loved every single other aspect of it, but man, love it. I'm definitely not gonna fuck with that bitch. This Father of Swords, I think if I ever make my own tarot deck, it's going to be like a pop culture related deck, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to make the Father of Swords Giles. And I think you can definitely see a nice Giles vibe coming from this card if you wanted to. Only if you want to. Love those pentacles, the Three of Pentacles. I just think that's gorgeous. Teamwork to get up that mountain, man. And the way that these Four of Pentacles are bound together. So simple, but like it just goes to show, you know, you really can portray so much with a simple image. Like, I mean, all this is a row of 7 pentacles with some lines in the background, but it really gives you the sense that, you know, you're building, you're going forward, steady, slow. I mean, it's the staticness of the image makes it seem like, you know, this is slow work, but it's going. It's another spider for the 7 of Pentacles, just like in Shadowscapes Tarot. Or did I say 7? I meant 8. If I did. This is my card of the year. I did like a, you know, year ahead spread, and the card in the middle that was supposed to represent my entire year was this. I think that's a good sign, right? Again, the court cards and the pentacles. No exception. I love the court cards in all 4 of the suits in Wild Unknowns so much. This Daughter of Pentacles, when I make my own deck, I'm pretty sure. I mean, every time I look at this card, I think of Willow. So I think Willow is going to be Daughter of Pentacles if I ever make my own deck, which hopefully someday I will have the courage to do so. There you go. Let's do our, I didn't do this with like the first deck that I was reviewing, but I've done it with every other one so far. Let's go ahead and shuffle this guy and pull a card while we do our outros. So overall, like I said, this is one of my top 3 decks. In fact, this is, I think this would probably be my very favorite deck, to be honest. I love the smith-waite, and I think that it's essential to me, and without it, this one wouldn't exist. However, this one is, it's my jam, which is exactly why I think that justifies me seeing if I can get a first edition, which hopefully I'll be able to figure that out soon. All right, so sorry I did that off camera. Oop, but here we go. Pick the 3 of Pentacles. Teamwork. Yeah, I guess I could go ahead and do some of my promotions. If you would like a tarot reading from me, I'm still learning. I'm still starting out. I've got in the description notes, you will see, it's basically, since I am the mixtress, not only will I do card pulls for you and interpretations, I will also pull songs for you. So you'll get like a little mini mix with a tarot reading if you choose to send me a tip on PayPal, and I will do a little tarot reading for you. So there's that. The link for that will be down below. Also, I have a radio show that's on every Friday from 7 to 10 p.m. Central Standard Time. You'll see the information for that down below. It's called Mixtress Radio. I also have a podcast where I recap every episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer exactly 20 years after their original air dates. So, depending on, like what time of year it is, sometimes I will, I still usually have a podcast episode at least once or twice a month, even if it's the off season of Buffy recap podcasts. But, I still, I'll have something. I'll have a movie review. I'll have, some kind of personal ramblings of some kind. And I just did my 100th episode as of the recording of this. By the time you see this, I'll probably be closer to like 120 or something like that. But since I'm batch recording a bunch of these videos today. But yeah, check out my podcast. It's called What's This Bitch Talking About? And you can find it pretty much anywhere you find podcasts. So yeah. And oh, I have a Patreon too. Sorry. I'm kind of slow today, but hopefully that's all right for you guys, especially since some of you subscribe to my channel because of my mostly ASMR, or as I like to call it, ASMR adjacent videos. This would be the type of video, if I was watching, I would consider it kind of ASMR. Even if you don't, I hope you still enjoyed this little walkthrough of the Wild Unknown Tarot. But I have a Patreon, and if you subscribe to my Patreon, if you become one of my patrons at any level, you'll get access to extra podcast episodes that come out at least every week, sometimes more often. So, yeah, I will see you guys in the next one.